Hello everyone, welcome to week 30. For myself, personally, last week was so great. I had an awesome experience because I attended a 6-day leadership camp, and during that camp, we have learned so much about leadership, the principles of leadership, about negotiation skills, and so many aspects of leaderships, and also practical activities to demonstrate those skills, team building, working as a team, how to communicate, so many things. It was a great week. So today I will share some of the things, few of the things I have learned, and also some of the news that even I saw during the last week. So one of the main thing I have learned and I want to speak to you right now is styles of leadership. From research, people have come into a conclusion of 7 styles of leadership. One type of leadership is transformation leadership. Other one is transactional leadership, democratic leadership, aristocratic leadership, situational leadership, and laissez-faire. That's a French name. The meaning of that leadership is like let it be, like let people do and make it like autonomous system. You let them do the work and you just guide them. And the other type of leadership is servant type. So if you search about these leadership styles, I'm sure you will learn a lot of these. I'm not going to talk about it, but right now the world is mostly focused about democratic leadership, right? Most of the world leaders just come into the media and hype it up, talk about it. They say that we have a choice and that is how they are governed from the choice of people. But we have to question, do we really have a choice, or do they show us through media that we have a choice, that kind of illusion of choice? Because every 4 years there's election, and whoever comes to power, most of the time not much change happens. The wars are still continuing, the healthcare, education sectors are declining. The world, as I see, I don't see much change, even though whoever comes from those two parties take the power, but they just stay in the power for 4 years, and then again when there's election, we feel like we are making the best choice out of the given two options. But most of the time, both the given options are driven by same people, same organization behind. So actually, we have to question, do they really have two different opinions, or they just tell two different opinions in the media but have one same agenda behind? And right now in most developed countries like Australia, what is happening is, and something happened in Sri Lanka as well, there were two parties and they had power every 4 years or 5 years, and people got tired in Sri Lanka, and then they choose the only third option they have in their political system. But the only third option they have left is the best option, or people were tired of main two parties so much that they just turned into the third option. And right now in 2026, up to date July, that is happening in Australia, most of the people are turning for the third option that is in Australia. Even the Australians were tired of choosing one party from two main parties they were given from every 4 years, and they have seen nothing much changes. Compared to Sri Lanka, there's so much infrastructure and systems implemented in Australia, but the Australians, the young people I talk with, so many, they are not happy with either of the party, and they are not happy with the third option as well. But psychologically, more adults in Australia are turning towards the third option because they are tired of two main parties and they just have a hatred towards two main parties. So they want to teach a lesson to those two parties. So how they going to teach that lesson? By giving the power to the only third option that is existing in the country. That is not the only option, but that is the controversial option who talk about migration and stuff, because that touches the human spirit, right? And even the third option has got caught by doing social media campaigns from Indonesia. So when I see all these leadership styles, I was thinking, why are we so stick to one kind of leadership, one kind of leadership style? There are good and bad, and in every kind of leadership style, it can change from the problem to problem, moment to moment, situation to situation. But as leaders, as they are wise leaders, why they can't just take the best out from each and every leadership style and do the best for the people? And that is the problem here. We are fighting for best kind of leadership style, but we don't define what kind of leaders should be there, what kind of qualities should be there inside leaders, not the leadership style they are following. So when we define the job of the leader properly, and when we define the qualification they should have in order to qualify to be in that position, in order to do that job, that's when the real change happens. Because once you are in a position, you should know the job description, right? And then you should be able to think, focus, and do that job properly. So right now we have to think what kind of a leader would do much better to create better system for us to live happily, for us to supply our food easily, for us to have health care, for us to learn and educate ourselves. That is a leader who can think on behalf of millions of people, who can prioritize millions of people before their needs, not the needs like food and shelter, but other needs like other attachment, like attachment to worldly resources, titles, or beliefs. Even the club that sponsored us for the leadership camp was Rotary Club. The motto of that club is service above self. So before they are prioritizing their non-essential needs, they are prioritizing the best for the world, prioritizing the service to the world. And do you see those qualities in current leaders? The principles of basic leadership is there. One of the principles I have learned in the camp also is DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Diversity means like leaders should understand each and everyone is different. Their background is different, their beliefs are different, but they should know some things are common, that we all need food, water, shelter, safety, to sleep peacefully. So when someone has those things, no one will want to fight. That's about diversity. Other one is equity. And before that, I didn't know the real proper meaning of equity. So equity and equality was kind of similar words, and in my mind, the meaning of those two words, I didn't have a proper definition for both two words. But equality, I knew. For equality means everyone should have equal opportunities to do their thing in the world. And that is where I think most capitalist leaders are shouting. Capitalists should be rewarded for their hard work, but for a society to maintain, it is all their hard work is put into their action. For a billionaire or trillionaire to exist, There should be so many teachers who have sacrificed their time, energy to teach them, even in one class. So many people have sacrificed or put their love, energy for the food they are eating. Even though they are billionaires, they need to eat, and probably they don't know where their food is coming from. Imagine, are we really inclusive as a society? Do we really understand how we operate as a society? How much effort each and everyone put for you to have food on the table? So, in the other hand, equity means everyone was given a fair chance. From a simple example, equity and equality. Equality is everyone get the same textbook to study, and equity is even though they have the same textbook, some might need extra support in learning because they might be struggling to read, so they might need extra support, so they have a fair opportunity to succeed, and that is equity. And DEI is not something I have founded. It was in the society, within our education. It was research based, research by so many scholars, intelligent, wise people, and those knowledge is in the society. But why our society is not thinking or not learning from those principles? Does our leaders mostly focus on their non-essential needs, or they have other hidden agendas that we don't know about, that they are not talking about in media? Because when we think about those principles are in the society, those leaders should probably know what humans need. They probably know about diversity, inclusion, and equity. But no one come to the media and talk about how we have those kind of things in our society. They only speak about, what you see in the media. So it clearly makes sense that through media you get to see what they want you to see, not what you really need to see to live as a society, as a collective. So in social media and with people everyday lives, I see so many things like their mindset have conditioned from the same phrases repeated over and over again through media. That's what most of the time media does and leaders does. They need the excuse to justify their actions, so they come to the media and justify, and then their advisors come to the media and justify, and some people called experts come to the media and justify, and so many justifications, so many excuses run in the human brain over and over again, and human mind start to believe those excuses, and that's how they justify their actions and move on like nothing happened. And also, there are so many negotiation skills, the education, even I have learned about. Imagine the leaders who are 70 years, 60 years old, who haven't learned about this, or maybe they have learned but they didn't have time to practice those skills. There should be some problem somewhere, right? Because even I know there are 5 C's for negotiation. One is clarity, communication, collaboration, compromise, and commitment. So, if you think about any real life example, any situation in the world, if you put into any of these 5 C's, you will find a way how we can communicate, collaborate, and think actively, listen, and come into a solution where both the parties can benefit. Even before I am not knowing 5 C's, I have told you this before. We have the education for simply communication. Why can't we listen to each other, talk and see from their side and come into the agreement where everyone can live happily, everyone can access to resources in the world, where we create a system that we work and distribute those resources properly among us, because in the end no one gonna take your billions of dollars when you die, even if you keep those billions of dollars to your sons, the next generation, after few generations, no one will know your name. Even though they knew your name, no one will remember, no one will give anything about who you were and what you have done. And the same people you have hurt to make those billions of money might be your next mother or father in another life. We don't know. Do you know? And the land you buy with your money, it's always there. But people who say we own the land change over time. And that is a universal truth no one can deny. It is not 3000 years or 5000 years. They were there for billions of years. And how do you know how many people lived in that house? How many people have taken a shit in your land? You never know. So we simply passing through for a small period of time, and during that time we just divide into groups and fight with each other. Is that what we're gonna do for the rest of our lives? Is that what you want to do? So while I'm learning about those leadership skills, there were interesting things happening in the world as well. Trump was threatening Iran to send missiles, Iran was threatening to kill Trump. There's so much drama. Imagine, is that the only news you see in these days? If it is, that is the episode they want you to see right now. Because there are so many genocides in the world, there is so much slavery in the world, and there are people suffering in the world because of sanctions, Venezuela, Cuba, and people in Congo and Syria, Palestine, and no one remember about Lebanon. What do you know happening in those countries? Even I saw a video that Israel soldiers are in Venezuela. How that can happen? So right now, the episode you are seeing was US and Iran. Imagine the population of Iran 90 million, the population of Afghanistan 45 million, and US showed you the series of Afghan war for 20 years, spending trillions of your dollars, your money, and now that show was over, and now we have come to the next show, the next episode, Iran episode, and that's what now we are playing. And when Americans doesn't have proper health care, if you don't have a job and you don't have proper education, students are in debt at very young age, because that's the economic structure, right, created through Federal Reserve. And when all those things happening, they use millions, billions of money to show you the episode of Iran, and simply you have watched the episode of Afghanistan and you have seen the results of those episode, and you know what is happening with the Iran episode as well. But no one seems to take action or seems to stand up, because maybe you might feel like you are alone, or you might be surviving, you might be stuck in the survival system. And funny thing I have noticed is two guys always going for peace talks between Iran and US. Do you know who those two guys are? Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. Those two guys are the ones who is leading the peace talks. Ask yourself what kind of qualification they have to lead peace talks between two major countries during a major conflict that we call it right now, right? That's the show that is going on. So that is the major conflict right now, because that is the show. What those two guys are capable of? Those two guys are real estate agents. Jared Kushner in a conference saying their development plan for Gaza. Wow, beautiful. Big hotels, good infrastructure, so many investment opportunities for you. And they are also bidding or auctioning the land in Gaza in UK. I have told that in a previous video. And real estate agents, developers are the ones who is going for peace talks at front. So do you think they have a proper vision how they can achieve peace? Or do you think they want more destruction to happen so they can develop more and more? If there's peace and nothing got destructed, how can they build? They can't build without destruction. So if they can't construct, how can they make money? How can they keep money flowing to their company? If you have done a 2 billion project, the next year you want to do 3 billion, next year you want to do 4 billion, because you want to keep up with the inflation as well. That is what happened with this economy. You can't blame a person because they are facing inflation. They want more and more. Everyone running on debt, and two developers going on peace talks to, I don't know, talk about developing something. Clearly not about peace. And even Steve Witkoff, yeah, said in the media that the people in Gaza were 2 million Nazis. And one of the video I saw on the internet, the real reason that US is backing Israel to do that concentration camp in Gaza with 2 million people, that they are monitoring human behavior. They're doing research. It is the biggest human lab in the world, and that is why you are spending your money, investing your money in those researchers, so they can create much better systems to monitor you, to control you, so they can maintain their power, keep their power to themselves, to their allies, so they won't feel insecure, because everyone want to feel secure, right? So if you have power right now to influence the world, you want to keep that power, because if someone else come to that position, you have to live according to their way of leadership, right? So if you have the power already, you want to maintain that. That's the only way you feel secure. That is human psychology. It's more than human psychology. It is the perspective. It is the way we see the world, because those people are also human. They also born to this world without knowing anything. They also don't have proper guidance. Even the people who guide them also people who born without knowing anything. So only thing we learn is from what we get from our environment where we are exposed to. So those information, those beliefs might not be the real truth. And also we follow religions 2000, 3000 years ago, written on a book. And even over the years, those books get translated again. When getting translated, their perspective added to the book. Because when you writing a book, by looking at another book, you read one sentence, right, in one language, and you translate to your language in a way that you know, because you can't write a sentence from the words that you don't know. You have to translate that sentence from the words you know. So when that happens, your perspective even little bit added. And when that happens for, let's say, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, like 10 times become 1000, right? So imagine a book translated over 2000 years ago. What kind of information, knowledge, wisdom you are receiving. So this is not a problem of human. It is ignorance. When there is so much information, they don't put time and effort to absorb that, to make them grow first in order to be best qualified to be in that position to lead people, make people happy, because they don't know about themselves, their attachment, what they are driving for, how this economic system drives them to have more and more. Until we understand that, this system will repeat itself again and again until till there's so much problems and people get tired of this and they come to the road. And we can change it before it happens. We can understand about ourselves, we can learn about ourselves, and we can practice to prioritize humans before we unconsciously prioritize our beliefs, our titles, our worldly resources. Imagine you need an island, right? Why? To do what? Imagine you are working all your time and effort to buy that island. You need millions of money. So when you're trying to achieve that, you don't have much time to prioritize and create systems for people. That is simply happening in different ways in the world, right? But maybe they might know what they are doing as well, and they don't know an alternative, and they just repeat the same thing because that's the only way they have learned. So maybe we have to teach them, and maybe we got to tell them, you are not taking any of this, and nothing in this world is permanent, and you don't know the person who you are hurting today. You are making a action, right? And every action has a reaction according to Newton. That means every cause have an effect. So if you hurt someone, how do you make sure that in another timeline or in another dimension or in another lifetime, that person you are hurting today will come back and hurt you one day? Because action has a reaction. Imagine if leaders learn this, they might be much more careful when they make decisions, because they know what they are doing is coming around. And sometimes I feel like that's why they show us beforehand what they are doing, so they don't feel much guilty, right? Most of the time the events happening in the world, they have shown in a subtle way in cartoons or in musical shows, in somehow they show us what is going to happen, because in that way they might feel like they reduce the guilt because they showed the world that they are doing this and people were okay with that. So they are keep carrying what they are doing in order to keep their power, make their family wealthy, make their lifestyle more secure. So that is what I wanted to talk about this week. When I open social media, there's so much news, but I can't talk about everything. I feel like information overloading. So much information can overwhelm us, and I think that is something happening to us as well. When there's so much information, we feel overwhelmed and we might feel lazy to take action because we don't know what is really going on, what is really happening. We just watch the media and continue our daily life and just let it be. But we can do better. We can create emotionally intelligent leaders who understand about themselves. If we are evolving, if humanity is evolving beyond this point, we need to think about what is the best possible way we can think of right now in order us to live. And one of the main concern is the balance of the nature, because we are nature, and when we are not aligned with nature and we are destroying nature in order to think about only our wealth, our growth, then the balance will collapse, because each and everything in the world need to maintain balance. Even in our life, if we eat too much, then it feel like collapsing. We feel ourselves. And if we drink too much, you know what will happen. Just like that, the good and bad, the intention of the world, it's not the action. Before action, it is the intention. If there's so much bad intention in the world, the bad energy, the nature got to restore that balance. And that is what gonna happen in the future. That is what happening right now. Right now we are the one electing. So if for the actions of leaders, We might be responsible as well. We might build our own karma because we are electing people who should not be in those positions, who is not suitable, qualified for those positions. Before that, we got to think what kind of leaders we might need, who might do a better job. Because right now, democracy is overrated. It's come to an end of democracy because democracy has become a popularity contest. Even that was said by Pluto so many years ago, and Pluto was sentenced to death by the same democracy. Democracy is good when people are informed well, educated well, but when all the voters are not educated, not informed well, not wise enough to choose, how can that choice become the best choice? And right now, whoever spends so much money to broadcast themselves, because through media takes money. You can't broadcast yourself with for free. For media, you got to spend millions. For TVs, social media, newspapers, radios, and also you have to give maybe free hats, free t-shirts, foods when they are attending your rallies. So much money you have to spend in order to show the world that you are the best person is there to lead a country. So whoever have the most money, whoever spend the most money will most probably win, and the leaders who are coming to those positions doesn't have much money, right? So they probably get the support from other organizations, and we don't know the intention of those organizations. We don't know what they need for the humanity, what their agendas are. We don't know who control the media. Technology is good, advancing of technology is good, but we got to think, with that advancement of technology, does human wisdom also advancing or not? If human wisdom is not advancing for the rate of advancement of technology, then there's a collapse of balance. When we lose that balance, that's when a civilization collapses. And that has happened in the past. Civilizations have collapsed. And do you want the same thing to happen to our civilization? Or when we are connected right now, do you want to think, focus, and create much better ways, much better leadership, much better education for us to experience ourselves and really live in this world with peace? It is possible if we talk enough, if we listen enough, if we collaborate enough, and if we think and focus enough. We can do that change. We can educate our children to sit with their emotion, to learn about themselves, and when they grow up, imagine how beautiful they might be. And when we create leaders who can prioritize millions of people before their non-essential needs, imagine what they might bring to the world, what kind of system, what kind of infrastructure, what kind of resource distribution methods they can bring to the world. So my friend, the choice is yours always. Even right now, even tomorrow, the choice is yours. So let's see how the world makes their choice.